course, they're all winning. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Are there any closed session reports to report?
Nothing to report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Would the president and CEO of the Simi Valley Chamber, Kathy Van Etten, please lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance?
Absolutely, be happy to. Right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, agenda review. Any comments, changes?
Mr. Mayor, I'll call roll call, please.
Let's do roll call.
Okay. Councilmember Lidster, she is absent. Councilmember Luevanos,
Here.
Councilmember Judge.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Kavanaugh.
Here.
Mayor Mashburn.
Here. Agenda review.
I move that all resolutions and ordinances presented tonight be read in title only and all further reading be waived. Second.
Call for the vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
A small bit of housekeeping. We have a written rule, but haven't been enforcing it. Once the 2A begins, we're going to move the table away. We're not going to accept any more blue cards. It's disruptive not only to you, the audience, but it's definitely disruptive to the clerk to have to deal with the cards during the meeting. So once the 2A begins, we'll stop accepting cards.
Mr. Mayor, if I could bring something to the council's attention. I've talked to the city attorney about this, and I haven't gotten a clear answer on how I'm supposed to go about this. But I'd like to find a way we can move 2A public statements to right before consent calendar, instead of having it before appointments.
Councilmember Judge, I guess the right place to bring that up would be the 9B, the new.
Didn't I bring it up last time?
You did.
I think I did.
Well, even so, I guess it's not on the agenda to figure out a method other than, you know, I mean, it's just not on the agenda to discuss further at this meeting, I suppose.
Yeah, if I remember correctly from the previous meeting, we were going to have staff take a look at it and take your suggestion into consideration and try moving it to where it's.
Just again, we have citizens here like youth employment and other things that, you know, try not to inconvenience them.
You can certainly use.
We can move it. Huh? Sure. We've moved many things in the past.
We need to change the agenda. If we want to change the agenda, we know how to do it.
I think we're going to come back with an overall policy that the council can adopt on how to deal with 2A and the and any presentations that happen before it. Hopefully, we can get that back to you July 20, maybe not for the July 29th meeting, but the first meeting in August.
Okay.
Okay, but for the record, we have changed the order. We have done it many times during at a meeting. Now, if we were illegal all those times, we better go to jail.
Mr. Mayor, I don't want to give advice on it right now, but I think it's best to just change it and then have, if you're going to accommodate at a future meeting, just do it. I think that's the way to do it.
Okay, I'm good with that. Okay, is there any declarations of conflict for tonight? Any of tonight's agenda items? No?
Okay, moving on. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, the first item on the agenda is 1D1, presentation of an honorary resolution honoring Betty Eske for 13 years of service to the community as the Executive Director of the Samaritan Center. Mara Mouch is here for this presentation.
Good evening, Mayor Mashburn and members of the City Council. Tonight, the City Council is recognizing Betty Eske for her many contributions to the community through her efforts as the Executive Director of the Samaritan Center. At this time, I ask Betty to come forward as I read the honorary resolution, and she also has several members of her family here with her tonight. Whereas Betty Eske has faithfully served the citizens of Simi Valley as Executive Director of the Samaritan Center since 2006, and whereas during her tenure at the Samaritan Center, Betty Eske has been dedicating herself to the betterment of the Simi Valley homeless community, consistently thinking of others' needs above and beyond anything else. And whereas Betty Eske has been a critical resource for our homeless population and works very closely with volunteers and with the liaison officers of the Simi Valley Police Department. And whereas Betty Eske has improved on many of the Samaritan Center programs, taking it from a small soup kitchen to a thriving community food pantry that provides wraparound case management services for all its clients. And whereas the City of Simi Valley desires to express its appreciation to Betty Eske for her contributions to the City of Simi Valley and all of its citizens. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Simi Valley that it expresses thanks and appreciation to Executive Director Betty Eske for 13 years of service and her commitment to ensuring that everyone that enters the center be treated with dignity as they work towards stability and productivity. Presented this 17th day of June 2019.
So how about those mixed emotions when somebody decides to retire? You're very happy for them that they're retiring and they get to go off and maybe do what we called the fire service 10 toes. That's where you sit in a lounge and your 10 toes are sticking straight in the air. And we hope you have a lot of 10 toes time. And at the same time, we hate to see you leave. All the good that you've done for this community, since I've been on the council, you've done nothing but good for the community and helped so many people and touched so many lives. And you are what makes Simi Valley a very special place. And we're very thankful and grateful to you for all the work that you've done. Somehow I think your work will continue.
I could not accept this tonight without thanking, I wasn't going to do this, my husband, Tony. Oh, yeah. He's given up dinners. He's given up days without us seeing each other except passing in the morning and night. But, and I want to thank also my 3 girls that are here, Nikki and Betsy and Alex, Peter, my son-in-law, my daughter-in-law, Jessica, and Gabriel, Silas, Declan, Ireland, and Briar. They are all they're my rock. They're what I get up for and what I go to bed tonight about. So, and also, can I just tell you, the board of directors that are here tonight, just raise your hand because you're all standing, but our board of directors is here tonight. I'm proud to be a part of that team. I look forward to what's going to happen with Chantel Zimmerman coming on as the new director. And then let me speak about the volunteers. We have about 150 volunteers that volunteer here regularly at the Samaritan Center. Hours and hours that we could not afford to ever pay. And I thank you for that. I see some former clients here. I see lots of friends of the center that have done the hard work to get out of homelessness and move forward. And I couldn't be prouder of all of you. So, and Chief, thank you. Thank you so much for the partnership that we've had over this last time. That partnership gives me the confidence to say what I need to say when I need to say it and do what I need to do when I need to do it with those clients. But our clients are fabulous. They have a long road ahead of them when they do come into our doors, and we're just pleased to be a partner with the city, with the police department, and the volunteers and the community at large. Thank you for your support. Thank you.
Stay right here. And how about, we're going to break tradition. The board of directors, would you like to come down and get a photograph taken with Betty?
Does this look okay?
Oh, that's Mike. This is microphone.
Oh, that's right. Move, Mike.
Me, Kathy.
This is Karen's other camera.
Okay, stay here with your board of directors.
Nice. You guys get in there too. City Council.
We can't see you. It's gonna be like a blur.
No. Come on. Move in. Move in.
Get on the side, there you go.
There we go.
Katie, we can't see you.
That's good.
No, it's not.
No, we can see you. In here. Is that better? There we go.
Look here. Smile.
Nice.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay. August, I'll look for it. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Keith.
Bless you.
Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council,
That's all the kids.
the next item on the agenda is 1D2, presentation of a proclamation declaring the month of June 2019 as Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month. And Samantha Argerbright is here for this presentation.
Isn't that supposed to be Brain Injury Awareness Month? I think we're all aware of our brains. Brain injury? Okay.
Good evening, Mayor Mashburn and members of the City Council. This evening, the City Council is bringing awareness to Alzheimer's by proclaiming the month of June as Alzheimer's and Brain Injury Awareness Month. We have 3 individuals here this evening to accept the proclamation. I would like to invite Teresa Valco, Board Chair of the Alzheimer's Association Central Coast Chapter, Shauna McGee, Volunteer and Advocacy Champion with the Alzheimer's Association, and Janine Adler, whose family member is living with Alzheimer's, to come forward as I read the proclamation. Whereas Alzheimer's disease, a progressive neurodegenerative brain disorder, tragically robs individuals of their memories and leads to progressive mental and physical impairments. And whereas Alzheimer's disease is the 6th leading cause of death in the United States, the 3rd leading cause of death in California and Ventura County, and is the only cause of death in the top 10 that has no cure, no treatment, and no way to slow its progression. And whereas more than 5.8 million people in the United States are living with Alzheimer's, including 670,000 in California and over 14,000 in Ventura County. There are over 1.6 million dedicated caregivers who provide unpaid care at home in our state, valued at over $23 billion. And whereas according to the National Institute on Aging, Alzheimer's disease also indirectly costs businesses up to $37 billion a year in the United States in lost productivity for employees who miss work or leave their jobs to provide care for a relative or loved one. And whereas with early detection and diagnosis, individuals and their families can gain access to treatment, medications, enroll in critical research trials, fully participate in planning for the future, and receive help and support from the Alzheimer's Association.
Now therefore, the month of June 2019 is hereby proclaimed Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month in the city of Simi Valley to increase public awareness and to join in honoring all the caregivers who support and care for loved ones affected by Alzheimer's disease, presented the 17th day of June 2019.
So unfortunately, I doubt that there's anybody in this room that some way, somehow hasn't been affected by Alzheimer's. I know my family certainly has been. And I thank you for the work that you're doing to help people like us who don't have all the knowledge but are trying to deal with the problems associated with Alzheimer's. So thank you so much, and thank you for what you do for the community.
Thank you for this recognition.
You're welcome.
It's the first step to making a difference.
All right. If you'd like to.
Thank you.
Big camera.
Thank you. I love a microphone. As the proclamation states, there are 5.8 million Americans living with Alzheimer's currently. If you didn't catch the other statistic, 14,000 of those live here in Ventura County. That means that there are over 40,000 additional individuals giving care to those 14,000. We do not have any way to cure it, prevent it, or slow its progression, but the first step in making strides in the fight against Alzheimer's is to raise awareness about the crisis that we're facing and what needs to happen. So thank you so much to the city of Simi Valley for making this recognition, and I encourage everyone to go out and please talk about Alzheimer's. It takes a village, and we need everyone aware of what's going on and to make a difference. So thank you so much.
Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, the next item is 1D3, presentation of the 2019 Plant of the Year Award from the Tri-Counties section of the California Water Environment Association to the City of Simi Valley. Public Works Department and Ron Fuchiwaki is here for this presentation.
Good evening, Mayor Mashburn and council members. It is a great pleasure to join you this evening for the presentation of this award. The California Water Environment Association is a nonprofit organization of over 10,000 members in the wastewater industry, which is committed to training and certifying wastewater professionals, disseminating technical information, and promoting policies to protect and enhance the water environment. And I'd like to ask Alan Grieger, our Deputy Public Works Director, and Frank Hernandez, our Plant Support Systems Manager, to join the mayor to receive this award. And now it's my pleasure to introduce a former employee of the City of Simi Valley in the Sanitation Division, Mr. Nick Steffen, the 2018 President of the Tri-County Section, to make this evening's presentation.
Good evening, Mayor Mashburn and City Council members. I think you stole some of my speech from the CWA website there. But my name is Nick Steffen, and I'm on the Board of Directors for the California Water Environment Association of the Tri-Counties local section. As Mr. Fujiwaki stated, the California Water Environment Association, or CWEA, is a nonprofit organization whose members work in the water quality profession and are responsible for cleaning California's water and returning it safely to the environment. It is my honor to present this award for Plant of the Year to the Simi Valley Water Quality Control Plant. This award recognizes accomplishments in compliance, innovative practices, cost effectiveness, and superior plant performance. As a former employee of the City of Simi Valley, I have worked side by side with the staff at the Water Quality Control Plant and know firsthand their tremendous dedication to their mission of protecting public health and the environment. As a resident of the City of Simi Valley, I'm grateful that these men and women are working diligently every day to ensure that this community's wastewater is being treated to meet very stringent regulatory requirements. This award could not have been achieved without the support of the City Council and the strong leadership from the top. Thank you to the council members that attended our recent Plan of the Year workshop hosted by the Water Quality Control Plant. I hope you're able to go on a tour and see the firsthand what's involved in treating wastewater. The work the staff does goes above and beyond and is extremely vital component to a robust and healthy community. So thank you for allowing me this opportunity to present tonight, and congratulations to the Simi Valley Water Quality Control Plant for winning the Wastewater Treatment Plan of the Year.
I'll do the quick thank you, and then we'll turn it over to the people that do the hard work and earn the thank you for all of us. But I'm a lifelong resident of Simi Valley, and since 1969, when the city was formed, I can guarantee you there's been no fear of the water. And to this day, I have grandchildren here. My family's here, and I rely on you folks. My family relies on you folks. And we do that with no fear whatsoever. We drink the water right from the tap, and we're happy to do that. So thank you so much for the work you do. I have toured the plant, and it's amazing the work you do. And I'm sure you'll continue to do it and keep us safe. So thank you very much. Now you can tell the real truth about how it gets done.
You did a great job. Thank you, Mayor Mashburn. Whoops. Thanks, Nick, for that recognition. It's always very meaningful when the peers of your industry recognize you, and really appreciate CWEA Tri-County section for doing so. Also like to thank Council Member Luebanos and Lister, who's not here tonight, and Mayor Pro Tem Kavanaugh for joining us that day. It was so important, them coming. You know, it's such a wonderful thing. The employees are still talking about it, and we really appreciate that recognition. Again, I'd like to thank CWEA, and thank you for this award.
I was ordered to take a picture. Okay. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Where are we?
All right. Moving along, Mr. Mayor and City Council members, the next item on the agenda is public statements, item 2A. Item 2A is the time and place for public statements for all items on the agenda or other city issues other than public hearing items. Please fill out a card and provide it to the clerk. The cards will be taken in the order submitted. Comments on public hearing items will be taken at the time, excuse me, at the time the item is considered. You will have 3 minutes to speak. The yellow light will come on at 2.5 minutes. Please kindly conclude your comments within 30 seconds. Please understand, council members cannot respond to your questions during 2A. However, responses by council members will be offered to the extent possible under agenda item 2B. I was just going to count, there are over 50. Okay, so the first speaker we have this evening, actually I'm going to call in groups of 3. Mandy, T-A-O-B, or Jacob, J-A-C-O-B, Mandy. Audrey Bruckner, and Paige Nielsen.
Hi. coming to speak to you again about 5G. And tonight I thought it would be interesting for you to see the differences of what the telecoms are putting forward as 5G and what it has been used for. As early as World War II, it was used as a weapon of war, and there are going to be veterans talking to you tonight about what they used it for. Unfortunately, they used it as a weapon of war and played upon people's eyes and skin. And Tom Wheeler, who was the former chairman of the FCC, was asked at a press conference on June 20th, 2016, what he thought about 5G. And this is the chairman of the FCC. And he said, run the other way. The higher the generation, the 2G, 3G, 4G, the more complex they become, but 5G is a completely different animal, especially because it works on microwave radiation. It's a sophisticated, illegal, unlawful transmitter that can 3D map anything in the environment. It can penetrate walls, concrete, bricks with ease. The megahertz frequency is specific for battlefield interrogation systems, and it's a targeted system. It's good at identifying targets, and it locks in on the target. And in fact, that's what it's going to do with our phones on the poles. It'll lock in on the phones to give them that frequency. These LED streetlights really then are masquerading as a management system. So with the help from lobbyists and federal officials, the regulations were put in place, making the public believe that in some cases to speak about the health effects of 5G was also illegal. But in fact, these cell phone towers themselves tell you what they are: pulsed electromagnetic microwave frequencies. Did you know the amount of money that the wireless industry has spent on independent research for these biological weapons of war? Zero. So with no research, we're flying blind here as far as the safety concerns, and we cannot assume that the wireless technology is actually safe. A medical professional, Sharon Goldsberg, was once asked, what do you make of the American Cancer Society telling us that there's no evidence for those harmful products? And her answer was, many of the organizations have conflict of interests. By conflict of interest, you always have to look at where the funding is. So there's a great amount of sponsored research by people who are hired to do the studies to find no effect. And that's what's plagued this 5G phenomenon. A scientist, George Carlo, worked on a study funded by Motorola, and they were very cordial up until a point where he started finding information that wasn't going to support their agenda. They asked him if he could spin it, and the relationship changed. He said, we saw that Motorola began to exert more and more control over telling us what to do, how to write the abstract, and how to do the work. The FCC is a strategically hijacked legal system and silences 5G threats. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This is a continuation. I'm very concerned about the potential health risks of placing thousands of 5G cell towers in neighborhoods all over our cities. This is a relatively new technology that has not been proven safe. Some call this the most massive biological move ever conducted on humans. This is a global rollout, which requires 20,000 satellites to be fully activated. Perhaps we rushed into this decision without having the time to thoroughly research this deployment. You may only be aware of research studies financed by big business and the telecom industry. These results could easily be biased. There is a growing volume of credible research done by qualified scientists of integrity, independent of big business funding, which document DNA damage in all experimental subjects, including humans, as well as other forms of biological life. The Bioinitiative Report, or BR, is a respected resource detailing this. These studies discuss that the most vulnerable to DNA damage are infants, children, and pregnant women. This group constitutes our future. Are we willing to take this risk, to make this our legacy? Another good source of authentic research is Physicians for Safe Technology. Perhaps the council would like to review their results. I did give you information. Additional resources are TED Talks, 5G, the EMF Safety Network, MyStreetMyChoice.com, AmericansForResponsibleTech.org, and TelecomPowerGrab.org, to name a few. It is interesting to note that Belgium, Israel, and Poland have already banned 5G. Germany and France have taken all Wi-Fi out of their schools and replaced it with wired or fiber optics, which are documented to be much, much safer. And Louisiana, on May 29, became the first state to halt their 5G rollout until they get the results from independently testing related health issues. Too bad California wasn't the first state to do this. In closing, once everyone does their due diligence of research into this issue, then we can discuss this matter intelligently and be able to co-create plans to keep our community, our children, and all of our citizens safe from harm. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. You were all missed to see Daphne speak. We had last Friday, not this Friday, the Friday before. You were all invited, and I was hoping someone from City Council or someone from the city could come. We had over 170 people from our community with a line out the door for 4 hours, and we have her coming back. She's coming back this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and she's asking to meet with any of you for an hour for a study session. She's the expert in the wireless technology around the world. She's the person that removed all the Wi-Fi from Israel in the Supreme Court. And today, or 4 days ago, Oregon passed a bill to remove all Wi-Fi out of schools for children. So Wi-Fi is the cell towers of 5G, but it also is everything around us. In the room that we had someone come last time with their meter to show us. The FCC has also put in new legislation to pay homeowners to install towers on their roofs, their walls, so they're going to be polluting our community. So we're not going to have a choice. If you think you're safe and it's not in the public right away, they don't put it in front of your house, they're going to be put on people's houses and they're going to give them money to do it. So you can't opt out of that, and I don't think any of you want to have a tower on your building next to you, and it's also property value. If you don't believe the health values are a risk, the property values of 25% with one cell tower. All these carriers will come in and blanket our communities with this microwave radiation that's killing our kids, killing our bees, so we're not going to have any food. And it's not; these are all, remember, science-reviewed things. The studies, there's no doubt this radiation breaks the DNA, as stated in the National Toxicology Program. And a few weeks ago, the FDA also came out to show that non-thermal radiation, non-ionizing, which is no heat, does affect our human biology. So going forward, we've met with our congresspeople. It's resulted in no progress. We have zero power in Congress. There are 220 congresspeople, and only a few of them are questioning this massive attack on humanity. It's abusive to our children, a crime against them, and our families, and child endangerment. The Ninth Circuit is only based on fees, not the issue of health. It will not change whether a tower will be in front of our homes, and we don't want any more of these towers. Our cities already have enough of this radiation. So I have a solution to help you all. To please meet, and we're asking the mayors of every city with Daphne, she says, to meet with this study session. We'll work together to take action. She's also an attorney. She knows what she's talking about. We are all here accountable, especially when we are given knowledge, to protect one another when something is harmful. You have grandchildren. We have children. We have children yet to be born. That is literally breaking the strands of the DNA and changing our human biology to make us have things that we don't even want to go there with the problems we're going to be having in Alzheimer's that we're talking about. That's going to rise very quickly. So I just ask you to be accountable. $800 million is what the telecoms are using every day to spend, or $800 million is what they're spending to lobby. So we're here. We don't have that kind of money. We're just here to educate and help. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next three speakers is Kathy I hope I'm saying this right, Capolimo,
You did it.
Forrest Callahan, and Judy Bruce.
Mayor, thank you for having me. City Council members. I'm just here as a board member of the Samaritan Center to announce that we'd like all of you to join us at the Simi Valley Samaritan Center, along with Ventura County Supervisor Bob Huber, for a fundraising event and to honor Betty Eske. It is going to be July 17th from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. We're going to have it at the Simi Hills Golf Course at what is now called the Birdie Bar, for those of you who haven't been up there. For those who don't know about it, it is 5031 Alamo Street. Tickets will be $60 a person or $100 a couple. It's going to be heavy hors d'oeuvres, and 100% of the proceeds are going to the Samaritan Center. So I have some flyers. I also have some sponsorship opportunities available. I'm hoping this should have been up on our website, but when you're dealing with volunteers, you know how that goes sometimes. So hopefully in the next 3 days, it'll be up on the website, but I do have flyers and some sponsorship information, so anybody would like that, I would be happy to hand you this paper. Just let me know. Thank you. Sure. I wasn't sure if I could do that. Let me just give you some. And it says here, click here on the flyer. Obviously, you know to click somewhere else. No, and I didn't know if you wanted this portion of it as well.
Oh, there's 2 pages.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Mashburn, members of the City Council. I'm here to talk with you about an item that is on your next agenda, July 29th, and it is the Walnut Hills Senior Living Project. I am actually in favor of it, and I know you've had some long nights lately. I think you're in for another one because there is a kind of an effort afoot to prevent the project from moving forward. I think after you're finished listening to 25 or so presentations, it's going to boil down to about 5 different categories that they fall into. One will be privacy. They're building units up in the hill, so therefore they can see into some of the backyards. Another one is the view. For someone who lives near Walnut, they have a nice view of the mountains, and that will be impaired. That's the second argument. The third one is earthquake danger. And I think probably this meeting, it would not be the proper place to resolve that because there are experts that will be looking at that as the process progresses. Also, there is some talk of a retaining wall that has to be built there to hold the earth back, as you would see throughout Southern California, because we have a lot of hills and a lot of mountains, so you need the retaining walls. And then finally, traffic flow. There will be some traffic that is diverted from one place to another. That kind of a shift would naturally take place. Now, I think there's probably some validity to all of these arguments, but I don't know if they rise to the level of stopping someone from doing what they want to do on their land. Now, my family has lived on Lemon Drive. I'm about 52 feet away from this project, and we lived there since 1981. And we were informed when we moved in of the plan, the city plan, which was to connect Walnut with Presidio. And there's about somewhere around, as I look at the map, it looks like about 1/5 of a mile that would have to be built, a road, to connect those two. Unfortunately, I don't believe it's city property. So this 12-acre parcel where the project is planned would have to give up a couple of acres in order to accommodate this and to do all the road improvements and so forth. Now, we have been waiting almost 40 years for those roads to be connected, and at the same time, Lemon Drive would be cut off, and they'd lose the access. Now, we live on Lemon Drive is actually a regular neighborhood street with houses on both sides, and I have 5 young children that live across the street from me. The Presidio Drive is actually designed for that type of project. So it took us about 40 years now, and we've got someone on the hook to do this, to pay for all this, and bringing in 55 or so new taxpayers to support our school is probably also very helpful. So I see that I'm out of time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm Judy Bruce. We're here to help and educate you. You said the reason you're in office is to be a servant of the people and want a safe city. Fact is that 5G is a military-grade technology rolled out on a civilian population for the purpose of mass surveillance and crowd control. A weapons expert, Mark Steele, warned people 5G is a killer. If you are all not scared, you should be. If I were in your shoes, I could not sleep at night, knowing that I approved a kill grid in my community. For what? Faster speed? Or to have a driverless car and get blasted with a military assault frequency behind my seat? The world has gone crazy. This is evil. It's happening now, quickly, and destroying our society, humanity. You all took an oath to uphold the U.S. and state constitution without evasion or omission. The oath of office is treated as words to be said, but no one holds those taking the oath responsible. So I thought it would be a good idea to mention that breaching the oath is a violation of federal law and executive order. Why do the American people allow their representatives to break their oath of office, which is a federal crime, and not to hold them accountable? It's because the public has no awareness that the oath has teeth and can be taken seriously. After our comments last time, you said that you can't honor your oath because the city attorney and Kramer led you to believe that your hands are tied because they said the FCC regulation is a law and that we pay them and therefore we have to take their advice. Where is the code of federal regulation that proves that the regulation is law and gives you the authority to violate your oath of office? In the absence of law, it makes conduct unlawful. You're probably thinking, well, wait a minute, the FCC order is not, if it's not law, why haven't all these bright attorneys figured it out? They are hiding the truth to keep you in self-doubt and fear. They have to pay for their expensive offices and they get used to their lifestyle. Attorneys don't know how to read the law or care to, but legal researchers do. Like ours, with 25 years experience in court, he has to educate the attorneys. Most attorneys are exploiting the system. Example, that the FCC Order 18133 is a scam. Even our own assistant attorney, David Caceres, in an appointment with me, nailed it when he said cities are getting bamboozled. Keeping people dumbed down is good for business, and fear is embedded in the system. The FCC uses corruption, city attorneys use fear, the people use the law. Instead of being afraid, you need to get down to the level you need to be, public service. Saying your hands are tied when they are not is not serving the people. It is being a dictator. Solution? Use the law that doesn't allow towers to go up which adversely affect us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next three speakers are Gloria Kraus, Colleen Abenanti, Charlene Hagan. Gloria Kraus.
Hello. Dr. Barry Trower, world-renowned scientist with microwave and biological experience, has many degrees. His specialty is the absorption of the far end of the microwave spectrum. 5G starts at 2.5 gigahertz and goes straight up to 100 gigahertz. These are particularly dangerous waveforms. A lot of them interact with the frequencies in the cellular structure of our bodies. This lower dose is more dangerous, taking about a year for the neurological damage to occur. It's a perfect government weapon to make opponents sick. Dr. Troy says anyone who puts Wi-Fi in schools should be locked up for life. He has looked at the research and incentives. It is not worth the problems parents will face with their children. A mother of a genetically deformed child will feel guilty giving birth. She will worry about that child for the rest of her life. It is condemning the parents and the children to a lifetime of absolute hell. This is published, therefore called intentional ignorance. Our officials are offered some form of incentive and they feel it's going to be good. One real problem is the embryo inside the womb of a pregnant teacher or an adult pregnant student. The first 100 days, they may not even know they're pregnant. All 400,000 undeveloped eggs are forming in the baby's embryo in the ovaries. No precautions, no protection. So the child will be born with genetically damaged eggs. And when she has children, it is likely one of those damaged eggs will produce a child. So the real danger, grandchildren. We have already seen this. We know it happens. Reproductive cycles of 1 to 2 years have been analyzed and published by the veterinarians and scientists. We also know it's been used as a weapon in wars to target pregnant women. Putting Wi-Fi in schools affects all future generations to come. If our leaders here are still convinced of the safety of 5G, even with all the uncertainties present, then should they not sign the order in their individual capacity and full commercial liability? The telecommunications industry is and will cause more destruction, suffering, and death on this planet than all the worlds added up. Stop 5G in our own communities, it will destroy the planet just as Monsanto has been doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Mashburn and City Council members. I know that this is not on the agenda this evening, but while I was here to cheer on Betty Eske, I wanted to voice my support of the Senior Townhome Project on Walnut Street. I'm a longtime Simi Valley resident. Recently, I had to move my parents back to Ventura County from Arizona due to some health issues. My parents wanted to purchase in an active senior living community. The senior communities are sparse in Simi Valley, and the complexes that I did find are very outdated rentals and are full with waiting lists. My parents currently reside now in a newer senior townhome complex in the city of Ventura. They would love the opportunity to move to Simi Valley as this is where their children live. They truly enjoy the community every time they come here to visit, and they do look forward to the possibility of purchasing one of the Walnut units someday. I believe that this complex would be good for the city and for the economic growth. I truly thank you for your time.
Thank you.
After Charlene Hagan, we have Gary Schwimmer, Mike King, and Michael Tardif.
Hi, thank you for your attention tonight. I'm Charlene Hagan. I come before you. There were some comments made after the last meeting and a meeting before that were very disturbing to me because we've all come here in good faith, worried about your health, our family's health, and the future generations. And it was told last meeting that we could use the library for a forum, that you've listened to us for 4 weeks, and that, by the way, the city council won't pay for it, you'll have to. Now, it was also stated that we could tell other people at this forum our opinion on the health issues. It's not our opinion. It's opinion of experts. Also, the meeting before, one of the people who is against this 5G came up and stated that these cell towers could be put in front of telecommunication homes for 5 years and then see what the results are. And I agree with you. You stated that that should not be done or ordered by the council because that would be making guinea pigs out of them. And I say to you, with passing this and allowing it to go through, that now you and all the residents of Simi Valley are going to be the guinea pigs of the telecommunication industry. And I was really saddened to hear the statements about, we've listened to you, you can go over there and present your views, when they're views of people who know. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. Just two things this evening, try to make it really short. For the next City Council meeting, I'd like to see if we could put two things on the agenda for you guys to respond to. One, can the City Attorney provide an update on the League of Cities filing against the FCC regarding the FCC overreach of power, regarding 5G small cell towers and the right-of-way? And two, can the Mayor provide an update as to the U.S. Conference of Mayors motion filed against the FCC that went back to, I think it was November of 2018, and I don't know what the update has been since then. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mike King. Thank you for listening to me tonight. I'm just here as a father of two children, concerned about health and privacy of my family. I have a light pole in front of my house, and I'm pretty sure that there'll probably be a small cell tower on that pole, and that's very close to where we sleep. So I've looked at a lot of studies. You know, other people have talked about peer-reviewed studies, and there's actual, there's an actual carcinogenic warning on EMF. So basically, I'm just here to reaffirm my concern for that, being exposed to that basically every night. I don't have Wi-Fi in my house. My house is hardwired. So in closing, I just ask the City Council if they could come out and say, is this new technology safe for your health? That's more or less a yes or no answer. And if yes, can they cite the studies for its safety? And the other one is, there going to be a way for the citizens of Simi Valley who are sensitive to EMF to opt out of that tower being in front of your house? Is that that's just a yes or no as well? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. My name is Michael Tardif. I've lived in Ventura County for 40 years. I'm here as a father. I love my children. I love my wife. I love my family. I love my community. I love Ventura County. I love Ventura County so much in the way that my family's had the honor and privilege to live that I, many years ago, signed up to jump out of airplanes and helicopters and defend not only my sister's honor, but the honor of our community, the honor of our country. My brother as well was an airborne ranger, machine gun team leader, Halo jump master. So we take our role as sentinels, as protectors, as guides in support of these other amazing women, Paige and Mandy and Judy and the others, just in support of them. And we take it very seriously, and we're really asking you to consider the same thing for us. We went and answered the call of duty. But this is the Internet of Things. The Internet of Things. And the best things in life are not things. Something to think about. This is a battlefield interrogation system. This will 3D map everything on a battlefield, as it was mentioned previously. As a combat veteran myself, recognizing the power and the potency of these directed energy weapons, okay, and everything's being, 98% of things are being accomplished by 4G right now. A hertz, one modulation, one oscillation per second, okay, a gigahertz is 2.5 billion oscillations per second. And that's the low end of the Wi-Fi. And again, why would Israel and other countries opt out of 5G. And two, the Times of Israel had an article about 2 months ago on the award of 2 major telecom contracts. And that wasn't for 5G, that was to hardwire and eliminate 5G. Eliminate 5G. Okay, again, I'm here because I love what we have, all of us. We all live in Ventura County, we're so blessed. And what side of history are we all going to be on? You know, so I want to facilitate, you can facilitate us together, and collectively, this is an example of power versus force. Okay, our strength is in our unity, our common unity, our community, and there's a community of here. This is long game. This is a long game. This is not going to go away. And the reason I bring up that commando sort of attitude, I'm here about love and to defend through love and respect, and would appreciate reciprocity on your behalf. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, that was the final speaker tonight, so we go on to item 2B.
All right, comments on item 2A.
I just have one comment real quick.
Okay.
The community room at the library, I believe, is free for nonprofits and stuff like that, isn't it?
Yeah, if I could tag on to what you're saying, to the lady that's concerned about the rooms, I mean, it's kind of comical in one sense that I made an offer thinking that you're coming in here and you're talking to the same people over and over again. So I thought, maybe I can assist you by providing a place where you could talk to more people. Obviously, you don't like that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I offered it. But no, it's my turn to talk. You talked. So, but what I tried to do is tell you that that was available. And I do think I said it was at no cost or little cost, but we could not pay for any, never mind, I'm done.
I just want to point out that it is free. And what we tried to point out in the last meeting when this was brought up was more about, not so much that we're trying to send you away to the room, but you need to get Katie Hill, you need to get our state representative down here, and those are the folks that need to be brought into this conversation because they are the ones that, well, right now nobody has power because the decision is before the court. So it's up to the court to decide what's going to happen with the decision. Who told you to come back to us? I mean, it's crazy. Those are the folks that make the decisions. All we do here is basically try to protect the citizens as best we can. And I think the ordinance goes pretty far towards doing that. Thank you.
Okay, if you'll, ma'am, I've never gavelled anybody. Please give us our opportunity to speak. You've had yours, we've given yours, and we've listened to you. Could we speak? There is no time for rebuttal. Very clearly, I brought it up thinking that if you needed a place to bring in more people to hear what you are saying, and it's not helping you at all to keep interrupting me. I didn't interrupt you. And that offer is still out to anybody that wants to use that facility and invite the public to come, because we seem to think, and I think that everybody may agree on this unless we can spin it to where I'm a bad guy, but the more people you have involved, the more likely you're going to be heard. And while I was sitting here listening to this testimony, I was thinking, boy, this needs to go to CNN, it needs to go to MSNBC, it needs to go to Fox News. That's where that seems to get the federal attention. Anyway, that was an honest offer. I'm sorry you took it differently than that. It's an honest offer. It's a city facility. You may use it to invite whomever you'd like in to speak, and invite the public to come and listen to those people speak.
And Mr. Mayor,
Okay,
pardon me, you're up against the 2B response time also.
Okay.
I respect everybody on the council, and I love
city of Simi Valley, and I'm concerned for your families as much as the...
I appreciate that concern, but please understand what we're trying to do here.
appreciate what you're saying, but
Okay.
I would hope that you can look at some other issues also. Thank you.
Okay. I want to respond to one gentleman asked us to put some stuff on the agenda. I just want you to be aware that our agenda is made weeks in advance, and it's based on developer projects and a lot of different things. And so to say that, I think he made mention that he'd like to see it on our next meeting's agenda. It's very difficult to promise that it'd be on the next agenda. We hear you, we write down what you want on the agenda, but I don't think we're in a position where we can say, yes, it will be on the agenda the next meeting, because there's a lot of agenda items we're working on several weeks out for the agenda. So I just want you to be aware, if you don't see it instantly, that's why. Comments?
I just want to mention that Congresswoman Katie Hall has signed on to propose legislation at the federal level to limit the FCC. I don't know the bill number in front of me right now, but it is proposed legislation, so I would suggest you follow through with her.
Okay.
Okay.
Next item.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, the next item on the agenda is item 3.1, appointment of Youth Employment Service Advisory Board members, and David Yoshitomi is here for this presentation.
Good evening, Mayor Mashburn and members of the City Council. Since 1982, the Youth Employment Service Advisory Board has advised the City Council on matters related to youth employment. The board is comprised of 18 members. On June 30, 2019, 11 regular member positions and 1 alternate member position will be vacant. On May 20, a YES Advisory Board interview subcommittee interviewed the eligible applicants and nominated 6 for appointment. Additionally, the Neighborhood Councils, Joint Council, and the Simi Valley Unified School District nominated representatives for their designated positions. Due to the Youth Council's 2019 to 2020 term of office, the appointment of the Youth Council representative will be considered by the City Council in October 2019. Terms of office will begin on July 1, 2019, and conclude on June 30, 2021, with the exception of 1 alternate at-large member position whose term will conclude on June 30, 2020. Pursuant to resolution number 2015-01, in order to maintain staggered terms of appointment. Several of the nominees are present this evening. As I call your name, please come forward. At-large Representative Gloria Bowman, Local Government Representative Denise Knitter, who's the Operations Manager, Office of State Senator Henry Stern, and Ryan Valencia, District Director, Office of Assemblymember Christy Smith. Local Business Representative Ryan Fowler, Senior Program Director, Simi Valley YMCA, and Tim Harrington, Regional Account Executive Deluxe Corps. The Neighborhood Council Representative, Amin Maghsoudi, Simi Valley Unified School District Representatives, Tammy Harder, Career Pathways Coordinator, Simi Valley High School, and Jennifer Wigdor, College and Career Counselor, Santa Susana High School, and alternate member, Jason Williams. The Youth Employment Service Advisory Board and the Simi Valley Chamber of Commerce and the Simi Valley Unified School District recommend that the City Council approve and the Mayor appoint applicants nominated to the Youth Employment Service Advisory Board. This concludes the report, and staff is available for any questions.
I move to approve and the mayor appoint the 9 applicants nominated to the Youth Employment Service Advisory Board.
Second.
Call for the vote.
Motion passes. Councilmember Wooster is absent.
All right, well, congratulations. So here's your pay. Thank you. The reality is it represents a thank you that we truly do appreciate volunteering meetings. So thank you much. I appreciate it. And it's a great program, just ended recently, and you will enjoy. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, Agenda Item 3.2, ratification of the reappointment of a representative to the Ventura County Area Agency on Aging Advisory Council, and Mara Mauch is here for this presentation.
Good evening, Mayor Mashburn and members of the City Council. The Ventura County Area Agency on Aging represents the concerns of senior citizens countywide. It provides leadership, advocacy, and visibility for persons aged 60 and over within Ventura County. The VC AAA Advisory Council is comprised of 2 representatives from each city within the county, along with other representatives serving the senior community, and serves to advise the VC AAA on matters related to persons aged 60 and older. Each city's Council on Aging Executive Board selects its 2 representatives, which are then ratified by the respective city councils and appointed to the VC AAA Advisory Council. The city COA began soliciting interest for the upcoming vacancy on April 16th and concluded the interest period on May 13th. During this period, 1 individual expressed interest in the position. On May 13th, the COA voted to recommend the reappointment of Antoinette M. Olson, subject to the City Council's ratification. Ms. Olson has previously been appointed to serve 4 previous 2-year terms, with the most recent concluding this upcoming June 30th. Ms. Olson could not be here tonight, but if ratified, this will be her 5th consecutive term, commencing on July 1st and concluding on June 30th, 2021. Therefore, the COA recommends that the City Council ratify the reappointment of Ms. Olson. This concludes the report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions, comments? I have a very brief comment. Antoinette has always been an exceptional representative, and that's my 2 cents.
I'd like to move to ratify the reappointment of Antoinette Olson as the city's representative to the VCAAA Advisory Council with a term commencing on July 1, 2019 and concluding on June 30th, 2021.
Second.
Call for the vote.
Motion passes. Councilmember Lidster is absent. All right. Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, Agenda Item 3.3, reappointment of Board President Mashburn and Trustee Lidster to serve on the Simi Valley Library Board of Trustees, and adoption of a resolution. The resolution is as follows. Resolution number PL-27, a resolution of the Simi Valley Library Board of Trustees reappointing President Mashburn and Trustee Lidster to the Simi Valley Library Board of Trustees. And Anna Medina is here for this presentation.
Good evening, President Mashburn and Simi Valley Library Board of Trustees. In 2012, the Simi Valley Library Board of Trustees established 3-year terms of office. Board President Mashburn was last appointed to the board for the term beginning on July 1st, 2016 and ending June 30th, 2019. Trustee Lidster was appointed to finish out the term of former Board President Huber, which concludes June 30th, 2019. Therefore, it is recommended that the Simi Valley Library Board of Trustees reappoint Board President Mashburn and Trustee Lidster to the Simi Valley Board of Trustees for a 3-year term beginning July 1st, 2019 and expiring June 30th, 2022. This concludes the report, and staff is available to answer questions.
Any questions?
I have a question. From what I read, it says that the mayor pro tem, and city council members shall act as a board president pro tem, and board members respectively. But these terms expire June 30th, 2022. So if they're not city council members or mayors anymore, then they're not trustees anymore. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. That's my question.
Move staff's recommendation for reappointment.
Second.
Call for the vote.
I know. That's what threw me off.
Motion passes. Councilmember Lidster is absent.
Pardon me, Madam Clerk, you read the reso on that one?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
All Moving on to the consent calendar, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. There are 2 resolutions under the consent calendar for your consideration. Consent item 10, resolution number PL-28, a resolution of the Simi Valley Library Board of Trustees requesting the Simi Valley Public Library's affiliation with the Southern California Library Cooperative. Consent item 11, resolution number 2019-25, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Simi Valley acting in its capacity as a legislative body of Community Facilities District number 2004-1 of the City of Simi Valley Town Center Project, authorizing the levy of a special tax for fiscal year 2019 to 2020.
Okay. All right, so consent calendar. Anybody want to pull any?
I'd like to pull items 1, 3, and 8.
1, 3, and 8. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. What?
No, I said no, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Let's go ahead and, why don't we discuss, well, let's go ahead and vote for 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11. Okay?
So move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Call for the vote?
Motion passes. Councilmember Lidster absent.
Okay. So, Councilmember Luevanos, questions on consent 1?
I'd just like to abstain since I was not present.
Abstain?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to do them individually?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good idea.
Move to approve consent item number 1.
Second.
Call for the vote?
Motion passes with Councilmember Luevanos abstaining and Council Lidster absent.
Okay, number 3.
Yes, I know this is about the adoption of the City Council priorities. Oh, I'll wait for Samantha's presentation. Oh, you're just here to answer questions. There were a couple things that I know that we discussed and like take notes like crazy. With regard to the economic development, to make sure that we prioritize supporting local businesses and bringing in new businesses. I know it's, in general, we say we do that anyways, but I'd like to see it specifically mentioned. And then I know one of the other things that we mentioned, and I don't know if it fits under a general broader category, is recapturing or sharing expenditures, like, expenditures on school crossing guards and resource officers. I know that's something that we mentioned at the retreat as well. So I wanted to see, I don't know if that was the place to put the priority or if it was in another sub-report or something like that.
So what was reflected in this report was what the City Council had essentially agreed to that was put up on the board before we left the retreat. So there were some priorities kind of categorized, and so that was what was reflected in this report. So I know that the council had a good deal of discussion during the retreat, and there were a number of items brought up. But ultimately what was reflected here was the items that were categorized on that document that was reflected on the screen.
Okay, I thought we had those discussions, so I thought that was included. So would it be included within those broad categories then?
It would be, yes.
Okay.
So these are the broad categories, and then you've got the subcategories below that staff would be following through on.
Okay, that's
Yes.
what I just want to make sure.
Yep.
It was included.
Yes.
Okay.
Then I move to approve consent item number 3.
Second.
Call for the vote?
Motion passes with Councilmember Lidster absent.
Okay. Number 8. Councilmember Luevanos.
Okay, I just had a question on page 2 of the staff report. Under findings and alternatives, the last bullet point, it says authorization to transfer the annual TDA Article 3 funds to the Rancho Simi Rex and Park District for maintenance of the Arroyo Simi bike path and approval of supplemental budget request. So is that separate from the Arroyo Simi bike path, or what? Because it just says supplemental budget request, but it doesn't specify what that's for.
Basically, this is money we get from Ventura County Transportation Commission. We just act as a pass-through to the Park District because they maintain the Arroyo Simi bike path. So in this case, there was approximately $27,000 we received, but the budget only showed 25, so we needed to make some supplemental adjustments.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I move to approve consent item 8.
Second.
Call for the vote.
Motion passes with Councilmember Lister absent. I believe that concludes the consent calendar. Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, next on the agenda is public hearings. This is the time and place set for a public hearing on the consideration of matters as presented on this agenda. Let the record show that due notice was given as required by law, and an affidavit to this effect is on file in the office of the City Clerk. The reports of city staff relating to these matters shall be made a part of the record of this meeting. Speakers during public hearings shall limit their comments to matters relevant to the item on the agenda and may be ruled out of order if comments are unrelated to the item. If you challenge in court any of the City Council decisions made here tonight, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at this public hearing. The time within which judicial review must be sought is governed by California Code of Civil Procedure, Section 1094.6. For Agenda Item 6A, Ron Fujiwaki is here for this presentation. Mr. Mayor.
Good evening, Mayor Mashburn and council members.
Excuse me, Mr. Fujiwaki. Mr. Mayor has a script to follow.
Following my script, this is time and place set for a public hearing to consider proposed FY 2019-20 assessments for Simi Valley Landscape District Number 1. May I have a reading of the proposed resolution? City Clerk.
Agenda Item 6A, Resolution Number 2019-26. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Simi Valley confirming the diagram and assessment for those lots and parcels included within Simi Valley Landscape District Number 1, levying the assessments for the fiscal year 2019 to 2020, and ordering improvements specified in the engineer's report as approved in Resolution Number 2019-19.
Mr. Fujiwaki, could we have an oral report?
I'd be happy to. Good evening, Mayor Mashburn and council members. In 1973, the city created Landscape District Number 1 to provide for continued maintenance of several landscape areas throughout the city. On June 3rd, at the June 3rd meeting, the City Council adopted resolutions verifying its intent to levy assessments, approving the engineer's report, and setting a public hearing for tonight, June 17th, to consider and to adopt the assessments for next fiscal year. Within the landscape district, there are 48 zones that are maintained by the city contractor and funded through assessments to property owners within each zones. The assessment should normally cover the annual cost of maintenance, utilities, improvements, and a cost allocation factor. However, in many cases, a general fund subsidy is needed to cover costs. That subsidy is known as a landscape augmentation fund. However, since an increase to the landscape district assessments would require a Proposition 218 process and vote, staff recommends that the current assessment amounts remain the same for the next fiscal year. Staff requested at the close of the public hearing, the City Council adopt a resolution approving the assessments for Landscape District Number 1 for fiscal year 2019-20. That concludes our report. Available for questions.
Questions, staff?
Yes. I looked at, parcel 14A and 96, and I saw the combined cost for $4.1 million for those two. So my question is, and I saw the utilities were, $67,000, and the contract services were $173,000 for parcel 14A, and for 96, the utilities were $38,000, and the contracted services were $152,000. So I'm just curious, I know one of them is by Stearns and Mount Sinai, and the other one's by Tierra Rejada. So why are the costs so expensive for those two areas? Because that's a lot of money.
I think part of it is, if you look at for 14A, the amount of square footage is almost 600,000 square feet. So it's extremely large, as well as 96. If you do a calculation on what the utilities are, the utility cost is actually fairly low. That's really our task over the next year, is figure out which zones are the more expensive ones that we can make some changes to. It may not be the biggest ones, and that's why I've just asked Mr. Fujiwaki today to prepare an analysis on a per square foot cost on utilities, improvements, contracted services, and all those, so we can really dig down into what those costs are. But I think in those particular ones, because they're so large in such a large area, that's why the cost is so high. It's disproportionate to some of the other areas that are just 60,000 square feet or even smaller than that.
Okay, and I was just curious to know, I saw the maintenance cost includes repair, removal, replacement, and then providing life, growth, health, and beauty landscaping, including cultivation, irrigation, trimming, and then removal of trimmings, rubbish, debris, and other solid waste. So I was just curious, when I saw the C part under Section 2, maintenance, how much is spent on removing solid waste, and if I know there's cities that have cleanup crews that, go around in community service. We always have Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts that are looking for community service kind of projects. If there's any way, I know we do an arroyo cleanup. If there's any part of those costs that could be defrayed by having community, members help with cleanups. I know, like I said, Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts are always looking for community service projects, and if they could help with, debris removal, if that would be a possibility. I was just looking into ways to defray costs and to help give our youth opportunities to participate in the community.
Yeah, I think everything's on the table for us to reduce costs. Some of that is key on how quickly they could respond and be available in order to haul stuff off, but we'll certainly look at all options.
Okay.
Any other questions, Jeff?
Yeah, as far as, I have a question. Moving this down the road, I have no problem doing that as long as we're looking at something in the future, like 215 process being initiated next year. I mean, we just can't keep pushing this off. We can't afford it. So are we looking to put the 215 into action, or are we just going to push it off another new extra?
I think if we need to do the 215, we're certainly going to look at it. If there's a way that we can reduce the overall
cost. We just approved a budget that showed shortfalls, so we know we need to do the 215.
I would like to take a deeper look at whether we can reduce the cost and reduce that subsidy further down.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Could we set a timeline on cost analysis, reduction of cost analysis? How much time would we need for that?
We can come back in the fall with some analyses.
Okay. I'd just like to set a timeline so that we're not lingering.
Absolutely.
Okay, does anybody from the public want to be heard on this? Any cards? No cards. Okay, the hearing is closed. Are there any comments or questions from members of the City Council? Questions, comments? Okay, then it's time for a motion.
I'll move to adopt the attached resolution approving the fiscal year 2019-2020 assessments for the Simi Valley Landscape District Number 1.
Second.
Call for the vote.
Motion passes with Councilmember Lister absent.
Excuse me for a second, I did notice staff recommended number 2 also, but we already discussed that. So, okay, so I didn't want to include that.
Next item on the agenda, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, is continued business 7A, receipt of the Budget Advisory Committee's input regarding the city's pension liability and authorization to pursue a judicial validation proceeding. And Samantha Arbiter is here for this presentation.
Good evening again, Mayor Mashburn and members of the City Council. This evening, it is requested that the City Council consider the Budget Advisory Committee's input regarding the city's pension liability and authorize the steps necessary to pursue a judicial validation proceeding for the possible issuance of pension obligation bonds. Following the City Council's direction during the May 13, 2019 City Council meeting, the Budget Advisory Committee received a presentation from Urban Futures during its May 29th meeting regarding the city's pension liability and the solutions available to stabilize the city's payments to CalPERS. Staff returned to the Budget Advisory Committee at their request on June 13th with a draft of a comprehensive policy to address the city's retirement costs. The draft policy as presented to the committee is in your staff report, and as noted in your report, the committee had only one change, which was to ensure that the interest rate on bonds shall be at least 2 to 2.5% less than the current projected discount rate at PERS. The council is not being asked to adopt the policy this evening. It is presented for the council's review and will be brought back at a later date. The strategies presented to and supported by the Budget Advisory Committee to address the city's UAL and retirement costs are included on pages 2 and 3 of the staff report in detail and address allocation of liabilities among funds and projects, use of reserves and one-time monies, cost sharing and contract MOU provisions, examination of medical benefit levels and eligibility criteria, tax-exempt exchange, and pension obligation bonds. At the conclusion of the June 13th meeting, the committee also supported moving forward with the process of pension obligation bond. With the Budget Advisory Committee's endorsement in mind, staff requests that the City Council provide authorization so staff can take the necessary steps to pursue a judicial validation proceeding. The judicial validation action is necessary in California in order to receive a final legal opinion regarding the validity of any proposed POBs and must be undertaken by all potential POB issuers in California. The validation proceedings require a 7-step process, which can be typically approximately 90 to 120 days. The process and estimated timeline are provided in the staff report on page 4 and does not bind the City Council to issue a pension obligation bond in the future. Should the council authorize staff to pursue the validation proceeding, staff will return at a future meeting for the council to take action on a resolution and the associated legal documents. Staff contacted the city's bond counsel, Stradling, Yoka, Carlson, and Routh for an estimate on the costs associated with the judicial validation proceeding. The proposed fee was not to exceed $40,000 for the judicial validation proceeding. If the city approves the issuance of a POB, the proceeds from the POB can be used to pay the costs related to the validation. In anticipation of the possibility of issuing POBs, staff requests that the City Council authorize staff to proceed with the steps necessary to commence that validation proceeding. Should the council move forward with the validation proceeding, there is no obligation to issue the bonds. However, the legal documents must be substantially complete for the court to consider the request. This concludes staff's presentation, and staff and Julio Morales from UFI are available for questions.
Questions, comments?
I move to receive the Budget Advisory
I'm sorry. I'm going to comment.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'd just like to say, I've been on the council 6+ years, and this subject has always been big, but there hasn't been action. And suddenly, we're seeing action to actually do something about our pension issues. And I think it's a very positive step to do something. I think the consultants and our advisory committee makes it very clear this isn't a cure-all, end-all, but it's certainly a step in the right direction. And doing nothing is no longer acceptable. And I want to thank the interim city manager for taking the ball and saying it's time to do something. I happen to know that there was a lot of work done, and one of the things that I know that he brought up was the one-time revenues, that they don't just go to one of the pet projects. At least 50% of it, I think it says, goes to paying down our pension obligation. which I think is a very positive thing. And I like that step, and it looks like the advisory committee likes that step. And I think it's a compliment to this council that what I hear from the consultants is that we're a city taking a step forward of many other cities by actually starting to do something. And so I think that's a very positive thing, and it's fun being part of somebody that's going to take the initial step and get something done and start correcting this issue. And once again, I want to point out, I don't think this is the end all. This isn't it. This is a long-term obligation, and there'll probably be changes, but at least we're doing something. And so for that, thank you.
I move to receive the Budget Advisory Committee's input regarding the city's CalPERS pension liability and authorize staff to take all steps necessary to pursue a judicial validation proceeding for the possible issuance of pension obligation bonds.
All right.
Second.
Call for the vote.
Motion passes with Councilmember Lidster absent. Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, the next item on the agenda is continued business item 7B, consideration and direction regarding a potential proposed energy services contract and energy-related projects at the Water Quality Control Plant, and Joe Deacon is here for this presentation. Yes.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. This evening, I would like to give you an update on a proposed group of projects at the Water Quality Control Plant. Valerie Houchin with Schneider Electric will also be presenting with me. Our goal is to provide an overview of a group of projects which will be presented to you at a future meeting for your decision as to whether to have Schneider complete them under a design-build agreement. Once that decision is made, if needed, financing alternatives will be presented for a decision on funding the projects to be implemented. Giving you a little bit of history, in 2015, the City Council chose to increase sanitation rates to fund needed infrastructure rehabilitation projects. The Council chose a $2.50 increase per month implemented each year for 5 years. And that alternative recognized the fact that some of the projects that we needed for rehabilitation could be paid on a pay-as-you-go basis, and some of the projects would be paid on with financing or with a loan. So speaking of the pay-as-you-go basis, we have not borrowed money yet, but we have started to work on implementing much-needed rehabilitation projects. I won't go through these line by line for your convenience tonight, but just to give you an idea of how many water quality control plants we have already tackled since 2015, and how many sewer system projects we have also addressed since that time. Nearly $13 million total in capital projects or rehabilitation projects that we have completed on a pay-as-you-go basis. And of course, these are to keep our system running on a 24/7 basis, which is our necessity. The community relies on sewers to work round the clock when they need it, and the environment requires the water to be treated to a standard also round the clock. So that is our standard. We work on continuous operation. I'm going to turn it over to Valerie Houchin right now for a portion of the presentation.
Thank you, Joe. I also want to introduce my colleague, Ben Johnson, in the front row behind me. He's an energy engineer that worked on this project, and if there's any really technical questions, I'm going to bring Ben up here. So the reason why we chose this method, instead of just looking at a list of CIP projects, we wanted to look at ways to improve plant performance and look at the systems holistically. We wanted to leverage energy and operational savings to help fund these improvements over time, all within the current rate structure and providing that same level of service to the community. So the design, build, delivery method that we've been working with has allowed for a lot of collaboration and to reach a project solution much more expediently. So the total project is broken down into 3 areas of focus. We have projects that are optimized projects, replace projects, and 1 project that is a produce project. So the optimized projects are really aimed at increasing energy efficiency in the aeration process. The replace projects are CIP projects that were identified in the 2010 Asset Management Plan, and the focus here is really all about replacing that old and aged equipment and reducing long-term maintenance costs. And lastly, the produce project is really a unique situation where we're taking the digester gas that has flared methane, we're converting that into pipeline quality natural gas, piping it over to transit, and using that as a fuel source for the buses. This is a really cool project because it's using a previously unused energy source, which is the methane. Then you're using that to create a sustainable fuel source for the city buses. The environmental impact is huge on this because you're going to reduce your greenhouse gases significantly, almost over 3,400 metric tons of CO2 a year. And financially, it's a new revenue source for the city, which I know is always welcome. And this also demonstrates innovation and thought leadership on the part of the city. So I joke that my home away from home is the Simi Valley wastewater plant, and I think the guys behind me can attest to that. So I'm just going to give a brief overview of where these actual projects are located on this map. It sounds like a few of you were just at the plant last week, so this might just be old news to you. So the first 3 projects are in orange are the ammonia or the aeration-based projects. So ammonia-based aeration controls, channel air optimization, and aerated grit chamber optimization. Then we move into the 7 projects, which are the CIP projects. They've been in the 5-year CIP for some time, replacing the headworks equipment, upgrading the BNR blowers, replacing the BNR mixers, replacing the dewatering equipment, replacing or upgrading the digester mixers and the pumps, addressing the 4 secondary clarifiers and the RAS pumps, the tertiary filter, piping replacement, and lastly, implementing a digester gas conditioning system so that you can have that renewable natural gas. So we're going to have a quiz on this really quick. So does anyone, I'm just kidding. So there's a lot that we're touching. You can see when the arrows pop up, we're touching a lot of areas of the plant. So just in summary, this has a huge financial impact, and not only because it's creating a new revenue source with renewable natural gas, but you're also using energy and operational savings to help fund the project. You're making the best use of your current rate dollars, and a finance project really does provide level payments for these projects instead of kind of the up and down that you have when you do pay as you go. And just to touch on again, wastewater is the most energy intensive and highest energy user in the city. It always is in every city and special district I work with. And the thing is, when we came to the city in 2015, we quickly learned that all the low-hanging fruit has been done. These guys have done an amazing job of implementing tons of projects before we came here, but we're here to just squeeze out that last bit of energy savings that is there and resulting in 20% cost savings targeted around the aeration process, which is that green part of the pie. And then we also worked to get eligibility for incentives of up to $290,000 from Southern Cal Edison. So let's talk quickly about collaboration. We've been under contract since November 2017 and have enjoyed spending a lot of time with city staff. We've had 41 on-site planning meetings. The guys sitting behind me were in those meetings. We've logged over 7,000 hours, and we had 42 active team members from across the 8 organizations listed here, obviously including Simi Valley. And I did want to just take a moment to recognize the city staff for the amount of time and effort they have put into getting where we are today. So I just touched on how we got to where we are tonight, but let's take a look forward. So in a design build project, the next step is the build, which that's where we would take the project in through construction, still maintaining those levels of service, and we're responsible to the city for a single point of accountability. And this delivery method allows us to address these projects in a much more expedient way. And the construction phase is also a time that's good for community outreach. And I was at the council meeting just a couple weeks ago and talked about plant tours. I mean, this is a way to highlight sustainability and the environmental aspects of this project into those plant tours and have it be a learning experience. So now I'm going to hand it back over to Joe to finish the presentation.
Thank you, Valerie. The total cost we're estimating for this group of projects is no small amount, $37.7 million. If we talk about financing the project, that results in an annual debt service payment of a range between $2.5 to $3.2 million, depending on the length or term of the financing package. And but at the same time, we enjoy some savings. Valerie touched on this, both energy savings, energy revenue, and maintenance cost savings that total nearly $1 million a year back that we will save or see as new revenue to help offset some of those costs. If we tried to fund this as a pay-as-you-go project, meaning we would fund it in the 3 years of implementation that has been proposed for this, we would need to raise rates that are currently $38.63 a month by about $20 a month for those 3 years to have enough revenue to pay for it. That's an extraordinary price increase, one that the community is likely to balk at or perhaps even not allow us to go forward with. So we are presenting you with an idea for financing that might be a little bit more compatible with the community's desires. So in closing, we're looking back at a way to support the city's 2015 decision on rates that called for a part pay-as-you-go, part financing package. This is the financing part of the package. We'd catch up on replacing worn-out equipment at the plant. We'd save energy and operational costs, as we've mentioned, create new revenue from the CNG facility, and we need reliable equipment. We have a public health requirement, an environmental requirement, and a community service requirement that absolutely requires to work round the clock, 24/7, every minute of every day, treating and collecting wastewater. And we do it well, and we do it proudly, and we want to continue doing it well. So I'm not going to read the recommendation in the staff report. I'll just say I would like you to consider the recommendation in the staff report. And I would be remiss if I didn't introduce my staff, which is Alan Krieger, the Deputy Director for Sanitation Services, Frank Hernandez, Collection Systems Manager. They came here earlier because they accepted the award on behalf of CWA. But I also got Mike Kang, my engineering principal, to come out this evening because we have all been, as Valerie mentioned, the amount of time we put in on this. We've been the planning team that's worked on this to this point. And we're just giving a very broad overview tonight. We'll be coming back with more details, but we'd like you to move forward with the recommendation. We'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
I don't have any questions, but I have a commendation. I've been to the PSC a few times now, and I did take the tour with my son. He asked a lot of chemistry questions because he's a chemistry nerd. I just want to commend all of you. You do such a phenomenal job. You are such a service and honor and a source of pride for us as a city, for you guys to get Plant of the Year, for so many of your colleagues to come out and just be so proud to be a part of the work that you guys do. And the city would not run without the services that you provide. You're all so hardworking and dedicated and such experts. And not only that, you know, several of you took the time to explain things to my son and explain, you know, the chemistry and the science. And I think it's such an asset to have a water quality plant that we do. And, you know, I've had several people ask if they can bring field trips And I've been to several. I've been to other water treatment facilities as well, but I'm very, saying ours is my favorite that I've been to. But I just want to commend you for all that you do, because it's phenomenal, and you guys are a huge source of pride for me and for the city. So thank you very much for all that you do.
Well, on behalf of my staff, thank you very much. That's a very nice compliment, very well put. And you could pay us no greater honor than to come with your curious questions with your son, your neighbor, or anybody. We live for the opportunity to educate the community. So it's our honor and our pleasure to continue to educate people in the community about what we do.
And everything about this project is moving in the direction that we all need to move in as a community, as a nation, as in the world, as members of this planet, in terms of making sure that we're saving energy, we're reducing carbon emissions. A lot of our youth are very concerned with the climate change and the extreme weather, and so this is fulfilling all of those concerns that the community is aware of, and that we're moving forward, and I'm just so proud of everything that you guys do. So thank you again. I really, really appreciate it, and you're really moving us in the direction and in a financially and environmentally sustainable way that I don't think anyone could do any better.
Thank you.
I would just like to tag on to, along with everything Councilwoman Luevno said, I agree. I had toured the facility years back with leadership, so I know leadership goes there every year. It's amazing at what you do, so I think the more people that do tour the facility and find out exactly everything that's entailed from step 1 to step 100 is just wonderful. But Alan, you thanked us for coming to the lunch, and I want to thank you for inviting us and meeting all the wonderful people out there, and the food was great. They have a second job as catering out there. It was really, really nice. It was a great production. I really enjoyed everything, and congratulations on that award. It really is a great honor for you and for the city of Simi Valley. All of us. Yeah, so thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I had I'm sorry, I have one other question. It's kind of a funny one. All this renewable natural gas, can we sell it to transit? Or do we have to give it to them?
That's actually exactly what we're going to do. We went into a lot of discussion about that. And that will be part of the financing packages. In order to do that, the city would have to finance that portion of the project. So then we own the gas that's coming off of it, and then sell it to transit or other entities that may need compressed natural gas. So that is in the equation for that revenue to come back to the city general fund. Yep.
And if we eventually move to an electric fleet, then we could sell that gas to other entities.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Move staff's recommendation.
Second.
I want to echo what the two ladies said. And it's great to be part of an organization that's out front. The last agenda item I talked about being out front, and obviously we're out front on this one, and I certainly appreciate the work that the staff does and all the workers out there to make us look good over here. So thank you very much.
I appreciate it, Mayor, and for all the compliments we've received, I will be sure, as Alan has mentioned, to pass that on to the staff. But we appreciate your kind words.
Keep up the good work. That's
Thank you.
the easy one.
Thank you very much.
Call for the vote.
Motion passes with Councilmember Lidster absent.
It's a nice trophy.
Gotta take it back.
I don't know where you guys are going to put it. You guys have all those trophies in that case already.
I think it gets used every year. I think our name's on here a couple.
Good.
All right, moving on, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is item 8A, approval of the Ventura County-wide homelessness memorandum of understanding, and authorize the interim city manager to execute related documents. And I thought Julia Ramirez was going to be here, but we have Mara Mouch.
Good evening again, Mayor Mashburn and members of the City Council. The Ventura County-wide homelessness MOU was developed by the city managers in Ventura County in discussion with the Ventura County Executive Office and staff in the Ventura County Continuum of Care. The goal of the MOU is to articulate each jurisdiction's commitment to its own emergency response to address unsheltered homelessness. The MOU encourages jurisdictions to have funded service providers participate in the county-wide homeless management information system and Pathways to Home coordinated entry system. The MOU is intended to ensure coordination between each jurisdiction's approach to addressing homelessness and the ongoing regional efforts to maximize resources and outcomes through good faith efforts. The cities of Fillmore, Ojai, Oxnard, Santa Paula, Thousand Oaks, and Ventura, as well as the County of Ventura, are all currently participating in the MOU. The city of Camarillo has yet to formally adopt the MOU, while the cities of Moore Park and Port Hueneme have the MOU scheduled for discussion at their city council meetings this month. Currently, the provisions of the MOU are largely already in place in the city of Simi Valley. The following is a brief summary of how the city is responsive to the terms of the MOU and/or slight suggestions in enhancing the city's response. Currently, the city has ongoing staff participation in the governing board of the COC, continuing with our encouragement of new providers to engage with the COC, ongoing promotion of cooperation and coordination with the COC among all service providers serving those in the city of Simi Valley. Crisis response for sheltering during the winter months is organized by the Samaritan Center and the Faith Community through our PADS program. Future discussions are scheduled for options for a safe parking program. Maintaining a responsive housing element, allowing for the future development of various housing units to meet the regional housing needs assessment goals is going to be, the process is going to be starting here in the near future. Ongoing work with residential project applicants to evaluate options for affordable housing and housing diversity is ongoing with our housing staff in the Environmental Services Department. Possible condition of funding can be added to the grant awards for the Community Projects Grant, Community Development Block Grant, and any affordable housing projects as appropriate. And continued communication between the city and Continuum of Care staff, in addition of Continuum of Care staff to staff report and agenda packet distributions for city council items affecting the areas of homelessness, as well as the task force agenda packets. The task force on homelessness reviewed and discussed the terms of the MOU, as well as the city's response as detailed just now at its May 9th, 2019 meeting, and the members present unanimously recommended that the City Council approve the Ventura County-wide homelessness MOU and authorize the interim city manager to execute the MOU. And staff concurs with the task force recommendation. This concludes the report, and County COC staff as well as city staff are here and available for any questions.
Questions, staff?
I don't have questions. I just want to commend you, Mara, for all your hard work on this, for putting this together, for being so dedicated on the task force for homelessness and being a bridge between the continuum of care in our city and moving us forward. As you know, we have the third highest rate of homelessness in the county of Ventura. So this is an issue that's going to continue to affect us and impact us, not just us as a city, but school districts, the hospital, our services, our police department, our parks and rec. So us moving forward and having this memorandum of understanding is a step in the right direction. And I just want to commend you for your hard work in putting this together, and thank you.
I was going to do the motion.
Oh, go for it.
I'd like to move to approve the Ventura County-wide MOU and authorize the interim city manager to execute the MOU.
Second.
Call for the vote.
Motion passes. Councilmember Litzer is absent. Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, the next item on the agenda is item 8B, consideration of adoption of a resolution to enter into a cooperation agreement with the Ventura County Home Consortium and authorization for the interim city manager to execute the cooperation agreement and related documents. A reading of the resolution is as follows. Resolution number 2019-27, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Simi Valley authorizing the City of Simi Valley to participate in the Ventura County Home Consortium and approve the cooperation agreement for the Ventura County Home Consortium. And Julia Ramirez is here for this presentation.
Thank you. Good evening. The County of Ventura is seeking interest from area cities, including the city of Simi Valley, to form a home consortium by entering into a mutual cooperation agreement. The goal is to receive federal entitlement funds through HUD's Home Investment Partnerships Program, which is dedicated to help finance regional housing production. A home consortium is a financing tool local governments can use to effect regional collaboration to meet workforce housing demand, affordable housing needs, and comply with the Regional Housing Needs Allocation, otherwise known as RHNA goals. HUD has determined the initial qualification period to be 2 years, with a subsequent period being 3 years. The county, serving as a lead agency, will review, rate, and rank applications and provide summaries to a committee of consortium members. The committee can provide input and recommendations before the items go to the Board of Supervisors for final approval. It is estimated the consortium will receive $1.3 million per year in home funds, which will be more than double the region's most recent awards. Taking membership in the consortium will not circumvent local control on project approval and will bear no cost to the city. The deadline to submit to HUD is June 30th, and the consortium would become effective fiscal year 2021. It is recommended that the City Council adopt a resolution approving and authorizing the interim city manager to execute a cooperation agreement with the Ventura County Home Consortium and to finalize and execute related documents. This concludes staff's presentation. Staff is available for questions.
Thank you. Questions of staff?
I don't have any questions.
Comments?
Just comment.
Go ahead.
I think this is definitely moving in the direction that we need to move in. When I saw that it would double our funding, I was like, yes, I almost cheered when I read the report. And in terms of working with entities we've already worked with, many mentions, Habitat for Humanity, Cabrillo Economic Development. I just think this is a phenomenal opportunity for our city to be involved in. And I want to thank you, Julia, for putting this together. Taking a tour of what they've done in Thousand Oaks and the affordable housing they have there and seeing that our Simi Valley residents are going there because they're providing opportunities we're not providing here. It breaks my heart a little because I want our Simi Valley residents to be able to stay here. So in the way that we can work together as a region and the way that we need to cooperate as a region to provide that workforce housing, to reduce the transit, everyone complains about traffic. And the way you reduce traffic and the way you reduce carbon emissions is by having affordable housing in the community so that people don't have to commute. I hate to hear about our Simi Valley residents going to Thousand Oaks to look for affordable housing because that means then they have to commute this way and then that's more of the traffic that we're trying to avoid and the carbon footprint that we're trying to avoid. So I'm really excited for this opportunity and I want to thank you for putting this together. And I move to adopt a resolution.
I'm going to make a comment. All too often, I think we look at our city as an island, and we have to be willing to look at a regional basis, just like airports are regional, some hospitals are regional, and this is definitely a place where we need to look at a regional cooperation between our neighbors. So thank you for bringing this forward. Thank you. Now I'm ready.
I move to adopt a resolution approving and authorizing the interim city manager to execute a cooperation agreement for the Ventura County Home Consortium and to finalize and execute related documents in connection with the Ventura County Home Consortium.
Second.
Call for the vote.
Motion passes with Councilmember Lidster absent. Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, the next item on the agenda is new business agenda item 8C, consideration of establishing an ad hoc committee for the redevelopment of the former Farmers Insurance property at 3039 Cochran Street, and interim city manager Brian Gabler is here for this presentation.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, in January of this year, Newport Equities filed an application for a general plan pre-screening to change the zoning on the subject property, the former Farmers Insurance property. After considering that request, the City Council authorized the general plan amendment to move forward for further processing. Since that time, Newport Equity has been working on their required application, the studies that they have been completed, and in May of this year, they filed their formal application for the redevelopment of the site. At the June 3rd City Council meeting, Councilmember Lou Evanos requested an item to come back to the City Council to form an ad hoc committee to work with the developers on that site and to include staff and the public. So we are bringing back the request for the City Council's consideration. We will be more than happy to answer any questions.
Questions, comments?
I would actually like to remove my request for the ad hoc committee. I have full faith and trust in our planning commission and our department in terms of doing outreach and making sure that they're going to outreach to the public and make sure that we get input from all the stakeholders in the community. So I would like to remove this request for the ad hoc committee. And continue to encourage public to be involved and all our stakeholders with this project as it proceeds in the process that it will proceed through the Planning Commission.
This city has a very thorough public hearing process, very thorough. It starts with pre-screening, it goes to the neighborhood councils, it goes to Planning Commission, then it comes to final approval to the council. At every step of the way, it's public is invited to participate. And in this case, this particular developer has done an excellent job of reaching out to the local neighborhood that would be most impacted by this development. So I appreciate your desire to withdraw the request for the ad hoc committee, because I think it would be inappropriate to, at this stage of the game when they've invested so much, to form an ad hoc committee and start giving a direction that may not be consistent with what we've been looking at. I have to say that history has shown, and I'm talking way back when, but the use of ad hoc committees did take place, and there was discussion, not formal discussion, but there was discussion about ad hoc committees encourages donations to campaigns from certain folks. And so that's another thing that we avoid by being so transparent and reaching out to so many steps reach out and give the public the opportunity to speak. So thank you very much.
No, this was merely, I just wanted to make sure that everyone, because this is such a big project like the ones that were mentioned in the report, like the town center, like the Samantha Plaza development, because this is going to have such a huge impact on our community. I wanted to see if there was a way that our community, but looking at the process in terms of the neighborhood council, and again, giving everyone the opportunity at every level to have the public input. And I do encourage the public to come out and give the input through neighborhood councils and at the Planning Commission meetings and all the public hearings, because this is really the heart of Simi Valley. It was something that was created organically. It really is the heart of the shopping in Simi Valley. Everyone goes there. So I just want to encourage everyone in the public to come out and to provide that input at your neighborhood council meeting, at your Planning Commission meeting. And I'm sure there will be other opportunities for ad hoc committees, not for campaign contributions, but for public input and stakeholders to all be involved, because these are issues that impact all of us, and this is the future of our community, and everyone should have a say, and every generation should have a say, from our teenagers all the way up to our senior citizens and our working families, and everyone in between should have a say in how it is that we are forming our community and how it's going to be sustainable and useful for everyone in the community. So that was my intent. And that was my only intent with the ad hoc
That's a
committee.
very good intent, and I think it's one that maybe you didn't fully realize that. I think this city is doing an excellent job of reaching out and speaking to the public and hearing the public. And I've shared this plan with many folks, and I think it's going to be well received. So there's nothing to do, is there? There's no vote there? No action. Okay.
Okay, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, the next item on the agenda is item 9A, City Council member reports.
All right. Councilmember Lou Avanos.
On Monday, June 3rd, right before our city council meeting, I met with the Enclave about the farmers site, along with Councilwoman Litzer. On Tuesday, June 4th, I went to the Eid al-Fitr, which is the end of Ramadan, with the Simi Valley Islamic Society at the Santa Susana Community Center. They said they were very glad that I was there, and to celebrate Eid al-Fitr very early in the morning, 7 o'clock, before I headed off to work. But it was a nice event, and I appreciated being invited. On Thursday, June 6th, I went to the Clean Power Alliance Board of Directors meeting to look at all the issues that are impacting us in terms of renewable energies and the sources that are available. On Monday, June 10th, I attended the Southern California Association of Governments Regional Workshop on Housing that was in Moore Park to look at what regional housing needs we're going to have in terms of affordability and in terms of compatibility and what it is that our community is going to need to grow, and as well as transit options. So I'm really excited at looking at what transit's going to be available and how we're going to be able to work with that with our housing issues. On Tuesday, June 11th, I attended another Southern California Association of Governments workshop. This was on demographics and the census. And for those of you who are not aware, there's going to be a huge census count in 2020, which is a huge, huge deal. It's going to impact our federal representation, our apportionment. This is constitutionally mandated. It's going to impact our district elections that we have in 2020 here locally, our school board elections, Parks and Rec elections. It's going to impact the funding that we get, $2,000 per person for the next 10 years. So it's really, really important that, and we'll be reaching out, I already talked to Brian Gabler about reaching out to the community, making sure that everyone is counted for a census, especially our youth under the age of 12 who tend to be undercounted. So looking forward to making sure that we have the outreach for our community for the census. On Wednesday, June 12th, I had a meeting with many mansions to see many of the wonderful projects they have in the region to meet our affordable housing needs. And on Thursday, June 13th, I was lucky enough to go spend some time with our city staff where they got their Plant of the Year award, and got to take a tour with my son where I asked lots of chemistry questions of the staff there, and they were very patient in answering his questions. And I also had a meeting with Artist Memory Care. And on Saturday, June 15th, the Ballet Folklorico Cielito Lindo and the Simi Valley Rat Pack had a Father's Day sock hop at the Simi Valley Town Center, which was really a lot of fun. We had our poodle skirts on, and I made my husband dance with his daughter for Father's Day. And it was a really good time and a way to kind of highlight Surf Boba and some of the other new businesses, Huarache Express, that are up at the Simi Valley Town Center. So, and to hear some oldies but goodies as well. That's my report.
Thank you. Councilmember Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On Tuesday, July 4th, I met with interim city manager Brian Gabler about normal city stuff, some updates. Thursday, June 6th, I attended the Southern California Association of Government Regional Council and Transportation Committee meeting. Not too much new came out of that meeting. It was mostly rehashing old stuff and talking about arena numbers. So there's some news coming out of SCAG later on. Might surprise people that SCAG didn't agree with the way the arena numbers were being counted. It was you could have knocked me over. Anyways, Friday, June 7th, I attended the VCTC meeting in Camarillo. We talked about our budget, and we got it passed. on Saturday, June 8th. I attended the grand opening for Fun Burger, which is the old Hook Burger, in case anybody's wondering. They look like they have great options for all kinds of different palates, from vegan, vegetarian, all the way up the ladder to different kinds of meats. Please support our local Simi Valley businesses. I urge everyone to, especially our mom and pop shops like that. It is not a chain. On Monday, June 10th, I attended, I forgot the most important thing. I want to congratulate my son on graduating from Simi Valley High School Thursday, June 6th.
Go
I also want to
Pioneer.
congratulate all the other Pioneers, Highlanders, and don't know what Santa Sue's mascot is, Troubadours, on their graduation, and also our folks from Apollo High School. I wish you well, and I hope everything you work hard and get whatever you need that you want in the future. On Monday, June 10th, I attended the Council on Aging. We're here at the Senior Center. And Thursday, June 13th, I was in Sacramento for the League of California Cities Policy Committees. I serve on the Public Safety Committee. A couple of points of interest, AB 392, which is a bill that would change the way officers use force in deadly force situations. It has been basically changed to a point where it is palatable to the Association of Chiefs of Police and Association of County Sheriffs, but the League of Cities still takes an oppose to that bill. AB 1544, it took a support motion on that bill. This allows fire department to transport people to anywhere other than ERs when necessary. In other words, if you have a person that doesn't require major medical attention and can be treated in urgent care, it would allow firemen and paramedics to transport to the urgent care, saving tons and tons of money and keeping people out of our ER that don't need to be there. So I would suggest that our city also look at that bill and maybe write a letter of support. SB 438, the League of Cities Public Safety Commission took a oppose unless clarified. This would be no contract of medical dispatch. For some reason, there are cities, I'm not saying we're ever going to contract our dispatch services, but there are some cities in California that don't have the funds that we have, and they can't afford to have their own dispatch center, so they contract out with civilians. This bill would oppose that for a very small incident that happened in the San Joaquin Valley. And the League of Cities thought there was a little too much taking away of local control with that, so we're waiting to see it get clarified. And AB 1215, this is an interesting one, because there's this big push across the state for local law enforcement agencies to have facial recognition, or not facial recognition, I'm sorry, body-worn cameras. I am not a big fan of body-worn cameras. I think it hinders police work, and I think they're not necessary because we make our officers swear an oath, my opinion. Now, there's facial recognition software out there that can be used in conjunction with these cameras. In other words, if I'm talking to you and wearing my body-worn camera, and you decide to lie to me about your identity, the body-worn camera can take the facial recognition software and tell me exactly who you are on my monitor. And last time I checked, there was nothing in the California Constitution that said you were able to hide your identity from the police. So the League of California Cities Public Safety Committee took an oppose to banning the facial recognition software from police departments, which is what that bill would do. On Friday, June 14th, I attended the Simi Valley Annual Police Chiefs Luncheon put on by the Simi Valley Police Foundation. I thought it was great. The chief gave a great speech, talked about all that was going on in Simi, all the good stuff and the bad stuff, and how we're actually doing a lot better this year. I was very happy to hear that. Saturday, June 15th, not only that, but on June 14th was also Flag Day, and happy birthday to all the soldiers out there. It was the birthday of the United States Army, 244 years. I did attend the Flag Day ceremonies at the VFW, and the Army's birthday put on by our recruiting command came down all the way from Ventura. Saturday, June 15th, I did show up at the Elks Lodge for the 50th anniversary and their Flag Day program, but we were told to be there at 10, and it didn't start till 11. So I was early, Dee Dee was there, Councilmember Lister was there, and I figured we were well represented. So I went to my other events I had to go to that day. At 11 o'clock, I attended the grand opening of Choice One Cleaners, their second location over there in Country Club Drive. I wish them well. They have a nice little shop over there, and they will still be using their Sycamore location to put all their cleaning through. So all you folks up there in Wood Ranch, I know you consider yourself a separate city already, so now you got a dry cleaners up there all by yourself. Oh, we have the, and that's the end of my report. I hope everybody had a great Father's Day on June 16th, by the way.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'll go next.
Yeah, I want to see you follow up.
Oh, no, I know. Okay, on Tuesday, June 6th, I also wanted to wish all of our graduates a congratulations. My niece Whitney graduated from Royal High School. We now have 7 Highlander females in our family, so that's pretty cool. Along with the schools that Mike recognized, we also have Monte Vista and Grace Brethren who graduated classes, so congratulations to all of our schools. On Friday, June 7th, I attended the Leadership Simi Valley graduation in lieu of our mayor, and handed out congratulatory certificates to all of the graduates. Their wonderful class did a fundraiser and purchased bleed kits and have placed them throughout the city. They have tourniquet type medical device type things inside so that people can utilize them to stop bleeds. So it's really a nice thing to add to the AEDs we have in the police cars. On Wednesday, June 12th, I attended the Simi Valley Police Foundation meeting, and I want to remind everybody this Sunday, Cops and Cruisers right here in our Simi Valley Police parking lot. They will be happy to see you, and a fun event from 12 to 1. It's Dunk a Cop. So we have 4 officers that you have the opportunity to dunk. One of them is Corey Baker. I'm going to get him. So on Thursday, June 13th, I also attended the luncheon at our water quality plant with both council members Litzter and Luevanos. It was wonderful. You could tell how happy they all were with the recognition of the job that they do. And they had their training classes going on. They had it completely organized. It was so organized, I followed all the arrows to park way, way, way down in the gravel. And then they said, we had a parking spot for you up here. It's like, oh, well. You were so organized, I didn't realize that. I also met with the developer for the artist memory care about a possible new location on the 13th. And on June 15th, like Councilmember Judge said, I attended the Simi Valley Elks Lodge Celebration Gala and their Flag Day. That was actually wonderful. It was my first time being there. They have a full ceremony. They explained the history of the flags. They actually do the burning there, and they recognized businesses and civilians in our community who fly their flags on a daily basis. And to my surprise, my mother was one of them. So that was really nice. One of the Elks is a former neighbor, and he put my mom's name in for that. So that was very nice. And one of our partners here in Simi Valley, the Rancho Simi Recreation Park District, had their first Music in the Park on Saturday, June 15th at Rancho Simi, otherwise known as the Duck Park. It was Motley Crue. They did a great job. Yachtly Crew. They did a great job. It was a lot of fun. And that concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Everybody will be happy to know that I was on vacation. So out of town, and so I'm going to begin my report on Thursday, the 13th. In the afternoon, and I had a Boy Scout visit here at City Hall, which was very good. And young man asked great questions. It was a real good experience, and was able to show him council chambers, and I think he'll go on to be a doctor or something. He didn't want to be a politician. And then in the afternoon, I too met with artist memory care folks about a potential new location. And thank you, Dee Dee, for reminding me that the car show is next week, because I drove all over Sunday looking for it, finally made a call and found out it's not until next week. So that's it. And what's really nice is we don't adjourn in memory of anybody tonight. I mean, that's a very positive thing, so things are a lot better. So with that, meeting is whoops, 9B. I'm sorry, 9B before we adjourn.
I don't know if Councilmember Judge had an item that he brought up at the beginning of the meeting?
Go ahead.
Okay. I would like to request an ad hoc committee on the Topple Street corridor development. I know it's something that 2 previous council members had worked on, and I would like to continue that work that Councilmember Williamson and Councilmember Becerra had started. It's an area where I know we can really develop and economically and in terms of housing, in terms of the potential for economic development and housing that is needed in our community. I think that's a wonderful area for us, and it would be something that would be local. Topple Street would be something that would be just for just for us. And we're definitely in need of entertainment options and eating options and all those things. I see so much potential, the same potential that former council members saw in the Topple Street corridor, and I would like to have a committee full of stakeholders, council members, planning commissioners, and businesses and council, chamber of commerce members to be involved in this work and continue it and hopefully move it forward and continue the work that was started previously.
Okay, we don't need to vote on that. It's a matter of, I'm sorry?
We'll bring something back.
Okay. Okay, any other comments? Okay. Then that is it. Do you have a report? No report? Okay, meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much.